Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jay. He's Maddie. This is Yankee and the Brit. And today we're going to talk about Tim Tebow to the Jaguars. All right, Maddie. I got to say this just because this is one of the main reasons I wanted to do this video. And I know a lot of people are upset about the Kelvin Benjamin, and he's not, where's the uproar about that? And everybody's upset that Tim Tebow's coming back to the NFL as a tight end, and they're saying it's racist. I'm just going to put something out there. I think people are really confusing racism with nepotism.
Yeah.
And I think the reason he's coming is because Urban Meyer wants to set a certain standard in that locker room more than play on the field. And if Tim Tebow can still play something and add something, great. But I don't think that's why Urban's bringing him in. And they're neighbors. And they've been friends. This is nepotism, I believe, not racism. And just for all the confused people, there is a huge difference between Benjamin going from receiver to tight end than Tim Tebow going from baseball to tight end. I don't know. What are your thoughts on it?
I think the only time racism is a fair thing to say about it is when you compare it to the Colin Kaepernick situation. And it's like, but it's not anything to do about racism down to Tim Tebow. Like, that's just outright racism. That's very different. But Tim Tebow didn't kick up a big fuss by taking the knee. Like, it's much easier for NFL teams to hire Tim Tebow. Like, it's a lot easier to bring him back into the NFL than it is for Colin Kaepernick. And let's not forget, you can call it nepotism, but it's jersey sales. That's the reason that Tim Tebow is coming back into the NFL. He's a Florida Gator, and I imagine there's a lot of Florida Gators fans who are Jacksonville Jaguar fans as well, and there'll be big jersey sales with Tim Tebow on the back of his jersey. I don't know. I don't see how he really fits into the scheme. I'm a bit pissed off because it's like, couldn't you have let a young tight end like have his opportunity? Like, Tim Tebow's had his opportunity. He sucked. Like, he had his chance at the position he wanted to have it in. He's had his chance in baseball as well, and now he's just saying, "Oh, I want to come play tight end." So that's the only thing that annoys me about it. I understand it from a business standpoint. I guess it's another person that Trevor Lawrence can go to if he has questions and put his shoulder on about playing QB in the NFL. I guess that's what they could frame it as. But for me, it's about jersey sales and ticket sales, and God knows the Jacksonville Jaguars need both of those.
Yeah, and I don't want anybody to think I'm defending them bringing in Tebow, because I'm not. I think it's a freaking stupid idea. But I just wanted to point out there, I thought it was closer to nepotism than racism with the decision to go. Yeah. And in America, we deal with way more than enough racism that I don't think we need to pin everything in that light. Because
you don't need to find it. And we do understand that this is just two white guys talking about it. But like, I think when you compare it to the Colin Kaepernick and Tim Tebow situation, I think they're two very different situations where there's a lot more things going on there than just racism. But Colin Kaepernick not playing in the NFL is largely down to wanting to appease certain members of fans, which could be considered racist.
And
trying to dance around the issue.
Not knowing when to shut the hell up didn't help him at all.
Yeah, trying to dance around the issue a bit there. So, but Tim Tebow coming back in, Tim Tebow getting his opportunity is not because it's white. It's just because he didn't kick up a fuss. Like, he's a lot easier for an NFL owner to bring back in and know that no fans are going to be too pissed off.
If you bring Kaepernick in, and like I said, big Wisconsin homer, Kaepernick from Wisconsin originally. So when he hit the NFL, big fan. The only problem as an owner is even if Cap can still play, every media session is about Colin Kaepernick and something else. But the Jags are going to deal with a lot of that at first, too. A lot of Tim Tebow this, Tim Tebow that. I think a lot, like you said, is jersey sales, absolutely asses in the seats. He's a hero in Jacksonville. But again, I think it's locker room. It's culture. It's Urban Meyer's Florida, Ohio State culture. He wants to bring in a guy who can pretty much be a coach and help teach that offense and stuff to other players around. I also think that they can run gadget plays with Tebow. They can do that stuff at the line where maybe he's lined up as the H-back, fullback, gets a hand up and does his little college jump throw to somebody over the line. Or
I think Tim Tebow having 5 passing touchdowns is not out of the question this season. Like, so I definitely think he'll have at least one, but I think like maybe 5, maybe even up to 10 if they can get the scheme working. Like I could genuinely see him throwing a few touchdown passes in the NFL this season. Some sort of weird bubble screen, like like tight end, throw to the tight end bubble screen for a down the field pass as well, like that kind of stuff. Tim Tebow is definitely there for, and they're looking to go a lot more gadgety in their offense by the look of it as well.
I just want to know how Tim Tebow, how well he's going to block, because could you imagine some monster like JPP or freaking Daniil Hunter, Khalil Mack coming off the edge and Tebow having to try to pick up that block? I don't know how that's going to work.
Who have they got first up this season? Who's their week 1 game? Do you know?
I don't even remember. I just went over the whole schedule too, because I'm breaking them down for the NFC North, and I don't even remember.
Yeah, but whoever's got Jacksonville first up, line up your biggest, baddest dude wherever Tim Tebow is in that line. Just line him up against it. If Tim Tebow is anywhere near the offensive line, switch your biggest guy onto him and see what happens.
I might be an asshole, but I truly believe this. I believe Shannon Sharp could get up from the desk at Undisputed and play better than Tim Tebow right now.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. It's about like you can have all the knowledge of a position. Like at least he played quarterback where he needs to know the routes of the tight ends, I guess. But he knowing the routes and knowing where they're supposed to go and having the feel of the routes are 2 very different things. And if these are the first snaps that this guy's taken a tight end, I don't have full confidence in it. So I have a lot of confidence in the Jags for it being a good business decision. I actually don't hate it as a business decision because Duval, like we have like kind of gated territory and stuff like that. And it's very kind of, come on, we've got Trevor Lawrence and we've got Tim Tebow. Come have a look at your new stars. Like, and Jacksonville have needed bums in seats for a long time. That's why they're the team that are getting talked about moving to London ever since it's been a conversation. But as an actual football decision, I hate it. I really don't like it. It's like, why does this guy get a chance to play a position that he's never played before when there's guys who know it?
4, 5, 6 years ago, and he refused, went and played baseball, and now he wants to play it. I think that's what pisses a lot of people off with this. And like I said, I'm not a fan of the decision. I just think the internet's doing what the internet does and making it way more about something that it isn't.
Yeah, and I like, again, I like it as a business decision as well. Like if people just take it like that, that's what it is. Let's be real here. Like that's what this decision is. And as long as people say and see that and they just go, right, this is a business decision, then you can't really be mad at either party for doing it, because Tim Tebow is very happy to be coming back, being relevant again, being a star. Like he's very happy to do that role. Jacksonville Jaguars will take any money you can give them. Their owner also has shares in Tottenham Hotspur, who we were talking about before, and he helped build that massive stadium in North London that hasn't had anybody in it due to quarantine. Like that owner had a very, like, he needs to be making back some money now, and Tim Tebow will definitely help him to accomplish that. And they're becoming a more gadgy offense, and we've seen that with the way that they're going to use Travis Etienne.
See, you read my mind, and I was just going to ask you. So I know we differ a little, but there was reports out that Travis Etienne is going to take majority of snaps at receiver, which he was a pretty good receiving running back in college. So it makes sense to me. And me and you, when we broke down the AFC South, we even talked about how he could line up in the backfield, move out to the slot, do some Delvin Cook, Christian McCaffrey type things. But I know we differ, so I'm just going to put it out there. Like him going to a full-time receiver or 90% receiver, I think it's a brilliant idea. I think he's got chemistry with – you're bringing in Trevor Lawrence, and I think it's what's going to happen, but I know you disagree, so I let everybody know what you're thinking.
So I I just hate that entirely. I I like the idea of Travis Etienne coming in having chemistry with Trevor Lawrence. I don't like picking a first round running back. I don't like picking a running back in the first round when you have so many other holes. And then when you're doing it to cover wide receiver, when there's so many other wide receivers on the board who've actually played wide receiver, shown you what they can do in the NFL, and you've decided to take a running back. And if he's, I don't mind him splitting out, taking a few, like from the running back position, splitting out, taking a few receptions of wide receiver. But if it's going to be 75% of the plays, 80% of the plays, do you not think that, hey, there's better guys to do that? There are better guys to do that. And they could have had them in the second round and fixed another hole. They could have fixed their secondary and got Terrence Marshall at the top of the Terrence Marshall Jr. at the top of the second round. They could have had Elijah Moore. They could have had
but see, you're missing
Arizona's
something.
pick.
Let's take a little trip in our time machine, our Yankee and the Brit time machine. Back in time to another Urban Meyer guy, Percy Harvin, running back at Florida. The Vikings draft him as a receiver, and if not for the migraines and his attitude, and he was electric in Minnesota, but they had to go because he wore his welcome out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was a top receiver. If this kid does a Percy Harvin, then when we go back in a year or two and look at this draft, maybe you grade it completely differently.
Yeah, 100%. Look, I have no doubt that he could prove me wrong, but I just think you have so many holes in the team. This goes back to my picking a running back as a first rounder, especially if you're picking a running back as a first rounder who you're actually going to make play wide receiver. I like the idea of Travis Etienne and playing him in some college scheme that the NFL hasn't seen before, where he ends up getting loads of yards, receiving catches, and all of that kind of thing. But it's very difficult to see Christian McCaffrey, who's perhaps the best wide receiver, being the fourth best wide receiver on a team. You know, like
you said it best earlier. You said it best when you said you're going to see a lot of gadget plays. That's another place that this kid's going to excel.
Exactly.
And also, the more I think about it, this is just me guessing, and in their draft room, I don't think they said we're drafting a receiver. I think they said we're drafting a playmaker, and with all the holes we have, a playmaker is going to help us win games now.
Yeah, well, they wanted Kadarius Toney. That's what's been leaked out of this. That they wanted Kadarius Toney, and they decided the most Kadarius Toney player on the board might have been Travis Etienne, and Travis Etienne can make big plays from the running back position as well. So like you have got 2-in-1. I just don't think it's the right thing to do to use your first round pick on a running back who you're going to convert to wide receiver when you could have just taken a wide receiver. You could have taken Terrence Marshall Jr. was still on the board.
Elijah Moore.
The pick was now Elijah Moore.
I'm going to beat Elijah Moore's drum.
Exactly. But like, that's a gadget player. Like, you know, like you have guys who are great gadget players, as well as people who have top number one receiver potential still on the board. And you decided to take a running back to play in wide receiver. I personally don't think he'll be taking a lot of snaps at wide receiver. I think he could take, like in the training camp, he'll be taking a lot of snaps at wide receiver.
Both of us were like, wow, they took a running back when they have a pretty good running back room. And we were both like, damn, they need a receiver. So now you don't have to agree that it'll work, or that it'll be a home run, but it makes more sense now. Like when we were first going at it.
It 100% makes more sense.
I bet you have to agree with this. It makes the Jags, and I didn't think I'd say this, even more exciting to watch than I thought a week ago. And I was already excited to watch them a week ago.
Yeah, the Jags are becoming one of the more interesting teams in the NFL because they've got Trevor Lawrence, Tim Tebow, and now running back playing wide receiver. Like, definitely. But
go Shad Khan.
Is it not all a bit of a recipe for disaster? Like that kind of
thing?
It's
a recipe for disaster or a recipe for changing it around, and
it's a recipe to get eyes on the screen. It's a recipe to get eyes on the screen, and they know they've got Trevor Lawrence, and now they just need to build up try and make some more money, you know, like make this business work, like get fans in the stadium for Trevor Lawrence. And let's be honest, the Jaguars could still do with picking in the top 10 of the wide receiver, the top 10 of the draft for the next 2 years to fix their team. Like I was going through a lot of pre-draft hysteria, looking at every team, thinking best case scenarios. And then today I've listened to the PFF podcast, biggest reasons for negativity for every single team in the NFL. And it's kind of like brought me back down to reality. And it's the same with the Jets. Like there's a reason the Jets are dysfunctional. Like they've got Zach Wilson, great, but it's a reason they're dysfunctional.
And this goes with the Jags.
I'm much more confident.
We can't judge them for 4 years.
Yeah, I'm much more confident in the Jags than I was this time last year. But I think it's a play to get eyes on the screen, people in the stadium, and then making sure that they're relevant until day one. And otherwise, this news wouldn't have been leaked. That's not the kind of thing that it's not usually the kind of thing that people would really care about too much. But like they've let this out. Yeah, exactly. They've let this out so they stay relevant. And it seems to be a trend in the NFL. Najee Harris has come out, and it's apparently come out about Najee Harris playing wide receiver for Pittsburgh.
I call complete bullshit, but I know 100%. We talked about that. Yeah,
100% bullshit, that one. But it's all about the news cycle. I don't personally see Travis Etienne taking like loads of snaps from wide receiver when the season comes around, but in the training camp they'll do it. Apparently, Trevor Lawrence isn't handing off the ball because of he's got pain in his non-throwing arm, so he's not handing off the ball. So maybe they're just giving him more snaps in general to see what he can do.
I will say my bold prediction is 65 catches for over 700 yards.
For Travis Etienne. All right. Yeah.
But a lot of that could come out of the backfield too.
I could see it coming from the backfield. Don't get me wrong. Maybe they're just...
I think he becomes their number 3 slot receiver.
Yeah, I think they're putting him through this so that his hands improve, his route tree improves for running out of the backfield. That's what I personally.
Well, on fourth down, but on throwing downs, would you rather have him in the backfield or somebody else picking up the third down blocks? And now he's your slot receiver. I don't know. I believe that they're turning him into a receiver. You don't. Neither of us believe that Najee Harris is becoming a receiver, but that's the excitement. We'll see who's right. And the Jags just made themselves must-watch TV. That's all I know is that we're all going to be tuning in, and nobody tuned in last year.
Yeah, Jacksonville's becoming a place for the TV cameras to go. Like that's where there's going to be some serious coverage in Jacksonville this year. And I guess hopefully fans will go watch them. I mean, I always root for the Jag Stadium to be entirely empty, so they eventually have to cave and come over to London where they'll have a full stadium every time. But it will be nice to see Jacksonville have a decent team that's not just going to crumble. I mean, they were in the playoffs very recently with one of the best defenses in the entire league, but it crumbled very quickly for them.
Yeah, and who knows? Maybe someday the Jags will do what the Packers used to do back in the day. The Packers used to play 4 of their home games at Lambeau Field, and then they used to play 4 in Milwaukee at the old County Stadium. So they used to split them, and maybe, which was always weird to me, but maybe if it's gonna go that way, and I think someday they are London's team, I really do. But maybe you'll see more of that. But
maybe some sort of expansion is the only thing that'll keep it not being London's team. That's the only way I can see.
Shad Khan wants to be there. Anything with the history with them, but I think the Jags are must-watch TV. We both think that Tim Tebow thing is a whole clown circus. And we're both interested to see what happens with Travis Etienne because either way, like I said, I'm excited just to see if Trevor Lawrence is as good as Bill.
Yeah, I'm excited to. I just want them to put a good team around him to really give him a chance to do well. But his billing is he can turn any team around, and that's why he's a perennial number 1 overall pick. You know, like so maybe it'll be good to see him without that amazing team put around him and see what he can really do. I'm excited to watch them week 1, even though neither of us can remember who they're playing. But I'm excited to watch them.
Well, Jags fans, Give it a few years, but it's looking up. And I give a big shout out, Duval. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Keep checking us out. Go to YouTube, Facebook, all other places. Check out our other videos too. We'll have more to come. One world, one love. Deuces.
Cheerio.